In this video, I will show you how to effortlessly create first kids book featuring the same character without writing a single line of code. We will build a powerful n8n workflow that automates the entire process from creating cover page to generating text and assembling it all together with images into one single PDF file, all on autopilot. Even if you are a beginner, I will do my best to explain how it works and how you can think about building similar automations on your own. I will walk you through the entire build and share my thought process, lessons that I've learned, and also at the end I will explain you how you can get this blueprint absolutely for free. Stick around and I promise that you will learn something new today. The toolset to build this automation is minimal. You need to only have n8n to build this workflow. You also need to have the latest image model from OpenAI and a Google Drive account. That's all. The book on astronomy is not the only one that I created using the automation. Actually, this book on self-love is the first one which I created, and let's take a look at it. It features this girl with long hair. She wears yellow dress with stars, with white stars on it. And if we scroll down, we see the same girl here, same girl here. It's clearly the same person, at least to me. And now she's hugging herself, so the image here corresponds to the text on the page. And here she's upset, right? And mirror is also here, and so on and so on. There are a few minor mistakes in text, but this is just down to the way how OpenAI's new image model works. And for example, in this book, I noticed only 2 minor mistakes, and in this book, there were no mistakes at all. And this one is absolutely perfect. Okay, now let's go into building the workflow. As you can see, it is a huge one, and probably you can make it a little bit easier if you were not to create a whole book, but to just save individual pages and then compile it on your own. But we will build it. And first, I frequently get questions on how I think about automations, and in this video I want to show you my thinking process. Let's imagine we have a task to create a kids book. And by the way, I also want to give a full credit for this idea to this girl, to Juliana Chan. I found it is her actual idea to create a first kids book on something, and it is she described the whole process, how to do it. But when I followed her guide here inside ChatGPT, it took me quite some time to generate each individual image and put it all together. So that's why I created this automation that automates the whole process. Okay, we are back to the drawing board. So the task is to create a book, the whole book. So what does a book contain? It contains the cover page with title, character, and authors on it. Then it contains the main pages with images and text on them. And finally, it has the end page with the end word on that. We need to find something also. We need to input something that will generate a book, and our automation will do everything in between. What do we actually need for the input? Obviously, we need all those details like title. It comes from us. The character description also should come from us. Authors, we can hard code them if we know, or if we want to modify them on each run of the automation, we can also let a user define the author. For main pages, we obviously need to create a full text for the book first, and then understand how to split the text into pages. We can upfront tell AI that we want to have a specific number of pages and create the text based on that number of pages. And the automation, what should it do? It should generate a character. It should create a poem. Those child books are usually poems. And then the automation also should split that poem into pages, create the cover page, create images for each page, create pages and combine together images and text, and then assemble everything into one single PDF file. So we have an idea, and this is the idea. So what we need to input into the automation, it is topic. So I showed you two books, one on self-love, another is on astronomy. And that is the topic that the automation needs to understand. Also, if you want your poem to be in a specific style, to be influenced by someone known. For example, for a book on self-love, I used this author as an inspiration because she writes popular books on that topic. Then we also need to know the character and how this character should look like, or we can let AI to decide it for us. And same with the style of the book. So we need a topic like astronomy. Style can be any style or a style specified by us. Character can be any character or a character specified by us. And also, because we have mentioned it before, we need an author here, and I believe that's actually it, the author also, and the rest is on automation to build it for us. Let's think about the whole process starting from the final result. So we have a book. Before we have a book, we have each individual page. Before we have each page, we have image and a text. Before we have them, we have a text, right? And before or at the same time, when we have a text, we also need to know a character, and we need to create images with that character on each page. So we need to know a character before we generate that character on each page. What it means is that first step would be to generate a cover page. And the cover page will contain the title and the character. And once we have that cover page, that we can use that cover page to reference it and generate the following pages based on that cover. So step one is preparation. So we will need to create a poem. We will create a character description, and we will also create a storage where that book will be stored on our Google Drive in this case, and create a blank book template where we can store and drag and drop those pages. Let's do it. Before we do it, we obviously need to pass the data from the user. And there are two ways. One, you can just hard code that data while you are creating that workflow. It doesn't make sense to constantly input new data. And in order to do that, you can use this set block. So usually you would add a node, and there is this set edit fields set. And you can create here, for example, we need a character description. So we create a parameter character, and here you can specify the description. So this is a string, and this can be, let's say, a boy with dark hair, for example. And then you can add another field, and this is author for the book, and author is Nadia, it's me, and so on. You can start a workflow in a few different ways. So you can start it with a trigger, and the easiest way when you test your workflows is to start it manually. And we already have this trigger here. And another option that I use here is on form submission. I'll show it to you in a moment. Okay, let's detach it. And this one is deactivated, so I will test workflow. And it will show me the form. So this is the form. Generate a book. What is the topic? What do you know, like who is the person who would influence how this book would sound? Who is the author, and describe the character, and so on. So that is also the way how you set this form, is you simply use this. Okay, I need to stop listening. And you have this form submission, form title, and then you add new elements to the form. You can make them required or not. For example, the topic is obviously required. The author's name, we also cannot let AI to define that. We need to set it on our own. And the character, we can let AI decide it. And this is also, there is an option to modify the button. This is how you set it. But initially, when you just start, you can use this trigger. Let's activate it. Let's connect it to this one. And you click test workflow. Okay, sorry, I need to deactivate this form. This is how you do it. Deactivate. Let's stop. Let's test the workflow now. And you see we have two new parameters for a character and for an author. And I will remove this one. I will connect it to the existing block. What we have here is topic, author name, character description, and folder name. Folder name we needed to store the individual images that we will later compile into a book. This is the name of a folder on a Google Drive, but we will create that folder automatically. So we basically just copy the information from the form to here. Let's activate the form back and deactivate this trigger. Let's test workflow. Let's go. Okay. And here, everything on the right is what this block outputs, and everything on the left is the input information. And it comes from the form submission. This one is inactive. You can switch between them. When you want to get the data, you simply drag and drop it here. I have already done this. So topic, author, name, description, and for a folder name I use the topic, and then I also use current date formatted in this specific format, so year, month, day, hour, and minute. What happens next? I will connect it to this if block. If we decided that AI model should decide for us the character and who is the person who influences the style, then this is how we do it. In this block, I check if the author is set or not, and if it is empty, then I ask AI to come up with the author, and I ask it to find a modern expert in the topic. That is why we need topic as well. Popular among people, we will use it for creating a children book, and we ask it to pick one with the most recognition and so on. Then this is a simple language model chain, right? Basic language model chain. This is the node here, and you usually, when you don't use it in a chat interface, you need to switch it to define below. Here we would first need to set it to expression, then we can write a prompt, and then we pick the topic from here, find an expert on astronomy. Let's leave it like this, and you have an output form model, and here we will use OpenAI chat model, Search GPT OpenAI for one. And you can also set a temperature here and some parameters, and we'll see how it works. And you can also pin the data. If you don't want to resubmit it each time, just pin this data and test the workflow. It will use the data that you have submitted before. Let's take a look. It outputs this person. I have no idea who this is, but let's believe that he is someone experienced in this topic. This block runs in case there were no author from the form. And if there was an author, we need to now define which one we use. This is why we need to set a new block, new set block like this. And we set author. And we can drag and drop it from here. And this works if it was there. But if it was not there, if we specified one before on the form, then we would need to drag and drop the author. And it was this one. Okay, and this is how we set up this block. I will remove those additional nodes. What we do next? Let's go back. So we set topic, we set a style already. Now we also need to generate a character. So with character, it is the same. If we did not specify our character, then we want the language model to decide how the character should look like. And now we are at the point where we can generate that character, but at the same time, we can generate a poem already. We don't need to know the character in order to generate a poem. And we also can prepare where the book will be stored, so we can create new files already on our Google Drive. What I want to say here is that those actions don't depend on each other, and that is why you can call them in parallel. This is exactly what happens here. So first, I also set an additional block with the main prompt that we will be using later on in this workflow. This will be the base for generating the actual poem for the book. After we have this prompt, we can generate poem, we can generate a character, and we can create the files on the Google Drive. To generate a poem, it is absolutely the same block like here with same connected OpenAI chat model, and the only difference is that I set different temperature here for it to be a little bit more creative. And so we use the prompt that we set before, and I instructed to output the result in a JSON format. JSON format allows us to output the structure that will later allow us to generate text and image for each page. So instead of generating one poem and then splitting it into different pages, we beforehand instruct the language model to output that poem already in a format that we can use later. It will be a book with pages, and we instructed that it needs to have a page number, and it also needs to have a text for each piece. The text will be just 2 lines on each page. Then there is also one prompt to create the protagonist, our character. We reuse the same base prompt, and I say that I need a description for a character for this book, and I instructed what to include: gender, hairstyle, color, clothing, and output description, and only description. And later we use absolutely the same pattern as we used before. So if we already have the description of a character coming from the form, then we skip it and use that one. If there is no description, then we let AI to generate it. And third path here is preparing the storage for storing our book. Okay, so I will show you one more block, and we will be using Google Drive, and this is folder, create folder. So we create a new folder. If you are on a cloud hosted version, then it will be easy for you to create a Google account and connect it. I'm not sure. I'm on a self-hosted version, and I'm not sure for this specific one if you can use OAuth, or if you need to add new credential, and then, okay, yeah, looks like you need to add authorization and all those details. So if you are struggling with it, then just open the doc from n8n and follow the instructions here. You will need to set up your own project. That's why I would just recommend you, if you want to run it without all the hassle of setting it up, then run it on n8n cloud instead. Okay, and then in this block, we just specify where to create this folder. You will need to pick your folder and drive here in those 2 drop downs, and folder name comes from the previous block. I also researched a lot of ways to compile images together into one PDF, and I didn't want to use any third-party tool because I wanted also an easy way for you to follow this tutorial. So I found a way to do it with Google Drive absolutely for free. So how it works for PDFs and converting images into PDFs is that you need to create a Google Slides presentation, and then you need to add new slide, then add image to that slide, and then you can convert those slides into a PDF. What I found, unfortunately, is that there is no way to create Google Slides from the n8n automation from scratch. I mean, there is a way, but they all will be in a horizontal format. There is no way to create vertical format and modify that format. I have no idea why. There are parameters for that, but they don't work. And I spent like 4 hours to understand that there is no way to do that. That is why you need to create that template upfront. I will probably link it down below so you can just copy it. If there is no link, so you can just go here, create Google Slides. I will show you it in a moment. You create Google Slides and you remove everything here. Let's remove it. And then what you need to do is to go to File and then modify the page setup. So see right now by default it is widescreen, and if you try to create this presentation from n8n, the dimensions will still be the same of widescreen. So we need to set custom and let's say 14 by 25 centimeters. Apply. And only then you will have that vertical PDF format and you can use it. And since I already have it, this book template, I will reference the book template. I copy file, I copy my Google presentation, so I create book on and use that topic. So it will be a book on astronomy or a book on self-love. I copy file, this book template, I pick it here from the list, and this is file, copy. We copy that book template into a new folder that we have just created on the previous step. And then we get created presentation because we will need its ID later in order to add new images that we generated into this presentation. Okay, let's run this and see how it works up until this moment. So those routes are executed one by one, starting from the top route, then middle one, and then the final one. So we have a protagonist, we have copied the template. Let's go back. Okay, so this one is the new one, 12th of June today, and template has been copied here. This is an empty template. And also a poem has been created. Let's take a look how it looks like. We have page and the whole poem. And the last page just has the end on it. Then we have a character. I noticed that OpenAI likes this character if you don't instruct it with your specific one. And here we said that protagonist, which comes from the previous step, and we need to merge it all together in order to reference each of those steps later. So merge here is just append all three. And if we take a look at the schema, we have a book. So book with pages. Then the next one is protagonist and presentation ID. And when we created presentation, it also has with it all those slides and so on. We actually don't need them. Okay, let's also pin this one and pin this one so we don't spend time on it and don't spend money on it as well. And pin this one too. So the first part we have already prepared, everything is done, and now we just aggregate everything and put everything into one single item, because without it, if you start generating let's say a cover page, then it will be done 3 times. We don't want it, we want only one cover page. That's why we need this aggregate input block here. We have completed the first step. Okay, we have completed it. Now we can generate a cover page. We already know the protagonist. This is her description. And so we can generate a book cover. There is already a block for that inside n8n. This is OpenAI, right? This is just OpenAI. Generate an image, generate an image, this block. and you can pick a model. We need GPT image 1, and the prompt will come from aggregate inputs when it's ready here. Let's take a look. Resolution is this one. There are only 3 resolutions. One is square and one is horizontal, one is vertical. We need a vertical one. This is the resolution. And then we say that you are an experienced author. Your goal is to then we again reference the prompt that we used before to generate a character. So it knows that its goal is to generate a book. And then let's create a cover for this book. We say who are authors, because we need authors on the main page. Let's take a look. Here are the authors. We need them. And you need to output the full illustrated cover and only it, ready for printing. This line is also important because without it, it may generate some outlines and so on. And then we also specify the protagonist at the end. And after the book cover is generated, we can save it on our Google Drive and add that image to the Google Slides that we have just created. A few words about OpenAI image model. When you use it, first of all, you probably need to verify your organization. And if you go to your OpenAI account, you will, if you don't have it, you need to create it. And when you go here to general, inside verifications, if you are not verified, you will be able to verify your organization. It is just a few simple steps. From what I remember, you need to verify your identity and maybe take a picture of yourself, something like that. And second is, let's take a look at all the available image generations in OpenAI. Why at all do we use OpenAI to generate those images? That is because you can, this is one of a few models that allow you to keep that character consistency, and it also is quite good with text on it. It is quite rare to find an image model that is capable of both generating consistent characters and at the same time generating text and generating it in a good quality. So we use a new image API, and there are 2 ways, as OpenAI says. You can use responses API. Unfortunately, it is not available inside n8n, so our only option is to use just image API for that. And we will be using edit images in order to produce all the main pages. Okay, let's start the workflow again. Now the new image is being generated. It will take a few seconds. So now it has been added to the folder and added to the slides. So this is the file. We can view it. So this is our child's first book on astronomy, and that is our character. Super cute. It has my name on it. So this is generated. And this one is to actually extract that data because we need to reference this image later. And it is currently a binary file. And in n8n, it's such a pain to work with binary files. So what we want to do is to extract the data from the file. I will show you the data. This is base64. Yeah, we move file to base64 string. And in this way, it will be much easier to reference that image later down in the workflow. Okay, and if we go back to the page, we now have the first cover right here saved, and the book now has its first page right here. Okay, awesome. I will close it. Let's take a look at these stat pages. I simply use this block to keep the data with the poem and page numbers. And now with this cover page and with images, we are ready to generate main images. So let's go back. And we now have completed this step. So only 2 steps before everything is ready. So we are ready to generate main pages. How we do it? Then we aggregate pages. So what we had before, let's show data. Now there is a challenge. We need to iterate through each page and reference the data. If we want to iterate through each of them, there is the block for that, split pages. But if we split those pages right after that, then we will lose this data that we need to generate the consistent character. And that is why I use another aggregate pages block. And I simply add cover image to each of those items inside an array. And only after that, I split the pages. What we do after that is we convert base64 to file, because later when we need to generate a new page in our book, we need to reference a previous image, and OpenAI allows us to only reference the image. So it doesn't allow us to reference base64. It needs to have the actual file. And that is why we first convert file to base64, and then we convert that base64 back to file. If I'm not mistaken, let me know if you know a better way to do that. Maybe it's not the optimal one. I wouldn't claim that I did it 100% correct, but that is what I found at least working. We convert the image, the cover image, to file, and then for each of the pages with text, we generate a file. What we do here, there is actually no inbuilt n8n block for image editing from OpenAI, and that is why we need to use a simple HTTP block for that. Let's find it. This is just HTTP request, this block, and you provide the URL. And then this is OpenAI account, so predefined credential type authentication. And you need to specify your OpenAI account credentials. Then we send body. Send body is form data. So form data is this model. And then we also reference the file that is in the previous block, that is here. And finally, we use the prompt to generate this image, to actually kind of modify, to edit our cover page into one of the main pages. You are an experienced picture book illustrator. You see a cover page of the book and a protagonist on it. Now visually mock up a new page in a book in the same style. Use exactly the same protagonist with exactly the same features and make sure the illustration matches page text, etc. Include the page text in the illustration exactly as written, page text, and then we use page text. So this is the prompt. We reference here, we say that it sees the cover page, and we have just added this parameter with image. And I will not run it here now because it is quite costly. So each image will cost you 6 cents. It's not that much, but for 10 pages it will be like 60 cents, and for a whole book you might expect to spend around $1. Not much, but I don't want to do it in this tutorial. Or you know what I can do, and you also can use this trick. So after we split pages, I can limit it to 1. So this will take the first page, the first main page, convert the cover image to file. We'll call OpenAI's image generation tool to generate an image. Then it will convert that new image to base64, and then it will upload that image to our Google Drive. Let's execute it. Okay, now the workflow is completed. Let's take a look at the Google Drive where we store those images. So let's see, that was our main character, and this is the same character on the first page. Looks super nice. And then we would do it for all the pages. And by the way, you also need to make sure that your API allows you to edit 15 images at the same time, or how many pages you have. So if you go to limits under your account, I'm already on third tier. For GPT image 1, my limit is 50 images per minute, which means I can generate 15 images in parallel. If your limit is lower than that, then you would probably need to introduce batches and split your items before you process them in parallel. So you would process, let's say, 5, then set a timer for 1 minute, then process another 5 and another 5. I used that technique in my previous video where I showed how to generate videos with links, so you can check it out. And then, because we want to reference some of the previous blocks there, we need to merge them. Later, we aggregate the page with numbers. So we aggregate all the pages that were created, put them into image, and we only need ID, name, web link content, and pages from before in order to later reorder them. What I wanted to say is that if you process those images in parallel, then we don't know if, let's say, image 4 will be processed before image 2 is complete, which means that if we add images into the slides right in the same order when they are finished, then we can have a book where those images are not in the proper order. And because of that, we want to first generate those images, wait until all images are generated, and after we have all those images, then when we reorder those items by page numbers, and then it will create a proper book. Let's run this workflow and see it one more time. So we will generate an image again. And while those images are being generated, I also wanted to show you one thing. Maybe you have seen this one. So people try to use ChatGPT and ask it to recreate an image. After 74 iterations, the end character didn't look at all like the initial character. Even though they asked to recreate the same person again and again, that person ended up being a totally different person by the end of the chat. And that is also what I have found while I was generating those pages in a traditional way in a chat, that after 3 or 4 iterations, the character started to deviate from the original character. And that is why actually it is a good idea to reference only cover image and generate each page based only on the cover image, and don't reference in the second, for example, page, don't reference the first page. We need only cover image, and it helps us to preserve the same character. The workflow has completed. Let's take a look. So we generated again one more page, this one. So it is quite similar to the one that we had. And you see there was a little misspelling, and the second time when it regenerated, then the misspelling is gone. And when that page is generated, then we merge everything together. So we have all those items from Google Drive. And finally, in the end, we have the cover image and pages. Then after we aggregate everything, then we have this JSON with images, with cover image and pages. Okay, and because we generated only one images, then this array contains only one item. It would contain more, obviously. Then we order those pages by number, simple, images, pages, page. We order them by number, and then we loop over items. So loop over items allows us to process them one by one to preserve the order. And then we create a new slide. And after we create a new slide, we update the image permissions to let that image to be added to the template. And then we add image to the slide. To create slide and to update slide, there were no native integrations inside n8n. And that is why I had to use API from Google, from Slides, to batch update. Yeah, here is batch update. And another one, this is to generate a slide, and another one is to add image to the slide. This is also just Google API presentations, and we reference the presentation and we do batch update, add an image. We also reference the dimensions because we want the same size on each page. This is how it works. And after that, we need, because this can run 15 times for each of those pages, then we add a limit to 1 page in order to then create the final PDF. So we convert slides to PDF. This is super simple. There is an existing block inside n8n that you can use for that. And here we reference the template that we have created. And here you need to specify that Google Slides are converted to PDF. That is how you do it. And if you click download, you will be able to download it. And then we upload final PDF to file in order to return it later to the user. Because if we start with the form, then we need to return the final book to that form. Okay, I forgot to modify the color of that step, but we have covered it, and we have covered the final assembly of the PDF. And this form result is, again, this is a dedicated log with result form, and then we redirect you to URL and redirect the user to the final book page. If we look at what we have inside Google Drive, then you see we have cover image, then we have Google Slides, and then those Google Slides have been converted into this final book. But because I run it on one page, it has only one page. That is it. I hope that you have learned something today and that you have learned how to generate those books. I have generated another one, so you can obviously create different characters, but the best one is still this one on astronomy. I love it. I absolutely love it. And as I mentioned, I will export this template and you'll be able to download it for free. My only request for you is that please don't reshare it on your LinkedIn or on other resources. Don't claim that it is your template. Feel free to use it for yourself, even use it for your clients if you want, but don't take my work and tell that it is yours, because I create those videos for you to learn. And if you are in a content creation space or you are a marketer who wants to learn n8n, then feel free to leave a comment here and tell me what you would love to see more on this channel, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm also super happy to chat with you there. And if you have some ideas, also please drop them there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate your support. It has been such a pleasure to read your comments on my previous video, and all the best. See you in the next one.